Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, guiding you through the trails of Glacier National Park with unique personal insight. And today we're on trail and we're a little bit off trail. We have some special guests, some VIPs in the studio with us, Tim and Rachel Manley. Unbelievable history in bear management, and their experiences are just incredible. We do have a part 1 of this show, and so make sure you listen to that to hear more about them personally and some of the basics about bear safety and awareness. But we're going to get into that a little bit more now in this episode. And we talked about being bear aware, and we talked about encountering them, and we led into, a little bit with the bear spray and how to use it and how to be prepared and have that, insurance while you're hiking, and that we haven't really had any of us have negative encounters with a bear in the park. And so you don't need to be afraid. You just need to be aware and be prepared. So we were talking about bear spray. We've said a lot about that. And I think in a unique circumstance, Sarah and I were discussing camping in Glacier National Park. I mean, there are plenty of front country campsites, some great backcountry trips that you can access, through those backcountry sites. And we were having this discussion about what do you do? Sarah, you asked a great question.
Yeah. If you book a backcountry site, there's a very informative video that they have you watch and make yourself bear aware, and how do you navigate food in the backcountry. And so definitely educate yourself there. But a question that I had personally was, if you're in your tent at night and you think a bear is coming to your camp, what do you do?
Well, for me personally, I always have bear spray in the tent with me and accessible. And I've never had a situation where I've actually had a bear, come around a tent when I was camping in the backcountry. Usually they're going to avoid it. And the nice thing about Glacier Park is they have good food storage orders. You do have to store your food, on the food poles.
Yeah, first step, right? First step when you get to your camp.
Or in a bear-resistant container, that they do provide in the front country campgrounds. And so, that's the important thing. Don't have any food or attractants in the tent with you. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, what to do if a bear is coming around, Rachel may want to add more to this, but, make some noise. Don't yell, but just maybe talk softly so they know that there's people there. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't hit the side of your tent. That could cause a bear to react. I wouldn't unzip it and go outside to try to spook it off or see what's going on. Okay. It may just be coming through, checking things out.
Does that matter, as we're talking about this, grizzly versus black bear? I mean, are there different types of things that the way that you behave around them? In your experience, I mean, does that matter in this case? A black bear, a grizzly bear, of course you wouldn't know, but is your response different?
It can be, but what I would look at is what's the behavior of the bear. Okay. Essentially. More importantly, what's the bear doing? Not whether it's a black bear or grizzly bear, but basically what's the behavior of the bear. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's true for any bear encounter, not just lying in your tent. But you're right, Josh. You're not going to know what flavor bear that is out there. And I agree with Tim, just talking softly, letting it know that you're a human. Mm-hmm. And there, you also don't know what that bear's history is, and whether it's been in campgrounds before and gotten anything. But as long as you've made sure that there's nothing on the ground that they can get out there, nothing in the fire pit that would be delicious, the bear is probably just going to move on through. Yeah. Yeah,
no, that's great. It's great to know that, how many people per year do this, camp in Glacier Park. And again, how many negative encounters, it's just lower. I heard once that you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to be attacked by a grizzly bear. And I don't know exactly how true that is, but it's an interesting thing that I share with people to help them understand, like, this is so rare. You don't have to walk around on tiptoe, especially. But Sarah, we camping in the backcountry, don't forget too, that a squirrel or a blowing leaf could sound like a grizzly bear while you're in your tent and there's no other sound. And it's just funny to think, like, your senses are hyper aware.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think deer and moose and elk make more noise in the woods than bears do.
Okay.
When I hear a crashing in the woods, I just, maybe it's just me wanting to comfort myself, but I think, that's just a moose.
Yes, I've
just a huge, 8-foot tall animal that also could be ornery.
Now, we talked about food smells in the tent. Food is an obvious thing. Sometimes we bring like backcountry soap to do dishes or, to clean ourselves, hygiene related. Is there, should we be concerned about any other type of smell other than food in your tent?
You want to keep all of that hung at the food pole, any of those actual items. If you have decided that you need to cook bacon at dinner time and you've got that smoke smell in your clothes, maybe change your clothes before you go to bed and hang those stinky clothes. I think that if a bear is coming around your tent and all you have is the smell of the soap on your skin, it's not going to be a problem. And if it is, that bear has a history from somewhere else, the soap on your skin's not going to be the issue.
Soap, toothpaste.
Toothpaste, same thing. Brush your teeth. Please brush your teeth.
Generally with a group, so you're polite. And so, Rachel, we were talking about, the key question here, what do I do if I see a bear? And we've talked about a lot of different circumstances, but okay, so Sarah and I, we've been, Cracker Flats, we've seen near the base of Mount Jackson, we've seen at the top of Rising Wolf Mountain. All of a sudden, it's, the thing that you've thought about and maybe even rehearsed, and it's there, and you're just not sure what to think because your thoughts are a little mixed up. What's the answer to that? What's the best answer to what do I do if I see a bear?
Right. Well, there's always going to be nuances in any situation that a person's going to have to react to and trust their own instinct. But as Tim said earlier, it's more what the bear is doing versus what kind of bear it is. The old adage, fight a black bear and play dead for a grizzly bear, doesn't necessarily hold true. What that's getting to is a defensive attack versus a predatory attack. And both of those things are so rare that we just hardly will even go there. So if you're hiking along and you see a bear and it's a good distance out there and it hasn't seen you, maybe that's a good time to just stop and watch the bear be a bear. And if you continue down the trail and that's going to close the distance between you and the bear, maybe don't continue down the trail right then. Maybe you're going to need to back up and make even more noise. I don't think we've hit on making noise yet. But before you even see the bear, hopefully you've been making a lot of noise.
Yes.
Because they don't always leave sign. Sometimes the trail surface isn't good for tracks. They haven't left a scat lately. And they can be anywhere. They can be on their way to the next good huckleberry. So we always have to be prepared to see them. So make noise. Make noise with your voice.
Sarah and I have talked about when we're hiking together, any conversation we have, we yell at each other, and people might think we're angry, but really we're just saying commonplace things at a loud level because we just know we're walking through the woods and they need to know we're there.
That you're coming, that's right. And if it's going to be windy or you're near moving water, make even more noise. Try to think like the bear and how far away would they hear me? I hike alone a lot, and I just give a good loud hey-o as I'm hiking along, and then I do it again almost immediately. It may be in a different pitch, higher, lower. So if the bear doesn't see you and you see it and it's a good distance, watch it. If the bear doesn't
have fun, right? I mean,
and have fun.
It's an amazing
How lucky
experience.
are you to see a bear?
It's what people come to Glacier for. It's amazing. And if you're not a good distance to watch the bear safely, Glacier Park's going to say 100 yards. That's a football field. But there's going to be other factors that may play into whether or not even 100 yards feels safe. Maybe it doesn't.
Situational. It really is.
It's very situational. If the bear doesn't see you and you're not far enough away, don't call attention to yourself at that point. That is not the time to all of a sudden yell, hey-o.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm trying to remember all of this, and I hope. Listen, you can replay this episode as many times as you want because it's good to know all this, and you're not going to catch it all the first time. And I still love the fact that just stay calm and do all these, run through these thoughts and scenarios and have your bear spray ready, and it's a lot to consider. So the more that you rehearse in advance and just be aware, the better experience you're going to have.
Is there some truth to not, obviously you don't want to run, not turning your back on the bear, eye contact? Is there any truth to any of that?
Well, for me, I like to keep my eye on what the bear's doing. You're not going to want to stare it down, but at the same time, I would keep my eyes on it. Like I said, don't turn your back if you can, but, keep your eyes on it so you know where the bear's going, because if it steps off in the brush and you've looked the other way, all of a sudden you don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I would keep my eyes on it.
Sometimes you just have to increase your distance.
Yes.
Between you and the bear. If you're too close to feel safe, whether it saw you or not, you're going to want to back up and, as Tim said, keep your eye on it. Increase your distance. Maybe you've had to go around a corner and now you can't see it anymore. Just wait, and then when you continue forward, do so by making a whole lot of noise. And if it still doesn't leave, maybe it's time to go find a different trail that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You can always adapt. We've got more to talk about. We're going to take a short break, but stick with us. We'll be back with Tim and Rachel Manley right after this.
Trees with deep roots stand strong, and so do we. Freedom Bank has been rooted in Columbia Falls for over 20 years, serving the whole Flathead Valley with state-of-the-art banking. Whether you're banking from your cabin, campsite, or kayak, we've got you covered. Freedom Bank, rooted here, ready everywhere. We want to be your bank. Give us a call at 892-1776. Member FDIC.
Welcome back, everyone. We are the Hiking Fools. Sarah and I have enjoyed so much having Tim and Rachel Manley in the studio. We've got a little bit more time, and we're going to discuss things like encountering bears and what you need to know. And I think some of the questions we had were, when do I stand my ground? And when do I try to move and get out of the way? And does it matter what type of bear I encounter? And what if it's an adult female with cubs? I mean, what do I do? What do the two of you think about all of those different circumstances?
How much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding.
I could do this all day.
Another 40 years? I don't know, Tim.
I think if it's a single bear or a female with cubs, your response is going to be the same.
Okay.
You're not going to necessarily know, depending on the terrain, if you see a single bear, that there's not a cub that's just
true.
not right next to her. So you want to always practice those same safe things anytime. Standing your ground would be if the bear is approaching you quickly. If the bear is just walking slowly towards you, it's fine to slowly increase your distance. You don't ever want to run. That's the one thing that's set in stone. Do not run.
Okay.
And that's one thing to mentally practice. And I really do think that mental rehearsal can go a long way. But increase your distance if you can, if it's walking towards you. Maybe it's just using the trail. And that's, as we said before, get off the trail. But just do it slowly. And that's really all it can take to diffuse a situation. But if the bear is actually running at you or even sort of trotting at you, I would at that point stand my ground and get that bear spray out.
Okay. Be prepared. Yeah, we it's an interesting thing with making noise. We've talked about that. You're in Glacier Park, you're having a great time, you're enjoying the bird songs and all the sounds of nature and the rushing creek or whatever it is. And it's hard to try to make noise that would disturb that for anybody. There are the bear bells. What do you think about bear bells? I think it's been a constant for the last 20 years for us. It's been, are they bear bells or dinner bells? And that's,
Are they effective?
Not very appropriate to talk about, but for the average visitor.
They're not loud enough and they're annoying.
Okay. You heard it here.
If you've ever noticed how close you are to another hiker by the time you hear their bells, do you want the bear to be that close to you before it's heard you?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, they're not loud enough. And then you're just going to drive yourself and your companions crazy listening to it.
Well, and when I'm hiking, I like to be able to at least hear something. If you're talking, having a conversation, that's one thing. But, having a bell jingle, 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 you're not listening to other stuff, brush cracking, or maybe some critter making a noise, something like that. So, and again, like Rachel mentioned, most people will have, that I've seen, they'll have bear bells on the back of their pack. And so the sound is behind them. And like you said, if you're walking down the trail with somebody with bear bells and you encounter them, notice how close you have to be before you actually hear them. You probably have to have a cowbell on you to hear it at any great distance. So, the human voice, bears know what human voice is. That's the thing.
I agree with you, Josh. It's hard to give that yell, especially the first one of the morning. You've set out on the trail and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's like shattering glass. But I just make myself do it and then it gets easier.
Yeah. That's you've encountered so many. We appreciate your professional opinion, your expertise, and Tim, all your years you have captured, you've trapped, you've interacted with grizzlies so much. We had somebody ask, what is the largest bear you've ever seen, ever encountered?
Well, the largest I've handled was just over 700 pounds, adult
Okay.
males.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, but people think that bears are a lot larger here than they actually are. You know, adult female grizzly bears in this area in the spring, 220, 270 pounds. And some will get bigger than that. And in the fall, they'll put on another 100 pounds or so. And adult males in the spring, 400 to 500 pounds, and they can put on another 100, 150 pounds. So, we don't have the big brown bears like they do over on the Alaskan coast, I do know on the East Front, Mike Madel, over there, some of the bears get really big because he's caught some in the spring that were over 800 pounds. But that's very unusual.
Well, you heard it here. Wisdom from a bear. Go ahead and put on 100 pounds over the winter.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing we mentioned is, nobody ever sees a small bear. I'm always amazed at how many people, I saw a grizzly bear. It was the biggest bear I've ever seen in my life. And, it's like, yeah, might have been big, but mostly,
Yeah. Looks big to me, yeah.
Or you can go the other direction. I got a bear report once in Glacier from somebody who had seen five black bears. This was up above Elizabeth Lake, below Red Gap Pass, way in the park. And they were huge. These were huge bears. And I said, are you sure they weren't cows? And he said, oh, no, these were too big to be cows. So sometimes the bear is really like oversized in their mind. Sometimes it's undersized. And this guy apparently thought that a bear was going to be the size of a house.
Yeah.
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 Okay, yeah. You've got to be, put things in perspective. Be realistic, use common sense. That's kind of what the theme that we're getting here.
And we've had visitors ask, should I worry about carrying food on the trail? Is that going to attract a bear? And another question is, should I spray myself with bear spray? And we've said this before in some of our podcasts that that's definitely not something you should do.
It's not like mosquito spray.
Yeah.
You'll only do it once. It hurts.
Yeah, don't spray yourself or someone else with bear spray as a deterrent. And also, in terms of food in your pack, we hike with food, try to make it sure that it's not real, smelly types of foods, but, lunch in your pack and stuff. But the thing is, don't leave that unattended.
Yes.
That's the main thing. Don't set your pack down and go wandering off with fast food in it.
I'll take whatever I want to eat that day. Yeah. I'll make a tuna fish sandwich if I want. And if a bear is going after it, that bear has some other history. Didn't start with my tuna fish sandwich in my pack.
Yeah.
But I've never had a problem.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
And so, Rachel, we were talking a little bit about, making noise and when you encounter bears and being ready and be prepared. But what can we expect even when we're making noise?
Well, you can expect in Glacier Park that the bears are going to be habituated to people. And you can expect that there's really good bear foods right along the trail and that these bears are trying to eat it and that they're used to people, which is what we call habituated. These bears are habituated to people. And so we can be going along and making noise and bumble around the corner, and there's a bear right there 20 feet away. And it heard us, and it didn't leave. And that's fair. That is fair for the bear.
Sure.
Because it's trying to eat. But what you've done by making noise is you haven't scared it.
Yeah,
that's what we wanted.
Let it know that you're there.
Exactly. You've said knock, knock. And then what are you going to do? You're going to increase your distance. You're going to back up slowly. And you're going to let that bear eat its huckleberry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can have a few on another area too. You can have enjoy a few yourself. But
absolutely.
What Rachel and Tim, we'd love to hear from each of you, maybe a very memorable or encounter or experience while hiking in Glacier National Park. Rachel, what have you seen?
Well, there's a lot of favorites, but probably one of my very favorites was actually on a day off. I had closed the Iceberg Lake Trail for a carcass right at Iceberg Lake. And I think I just closed it a day or two before. And in that case, you're going to let it rest. You're not going to go patrolling right away because you know that carcass is still going to be getting eaten. So it was a day off. So we decided to do an off-trail route. I don't know if you guys have done it or talked about it, Shangri-La.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yes, okay. We went up to Shangri-La and then beyond, and you get a really terrific view straight down onto Iceberg Lake from there. And, of course, we weren't going to do the whole loop. Normally, you drop down from Shangri-La and finish on the Iceberg Trail, but we just did up and back. Well, anyway, we spent an hour and a half watching a female with a cub of the year on this carcass. And about 45 minutes of that, there was a wolverine trying to get in on this carcass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it really wanted in on the action, and it would start to get closer to it, and I think the female was just toying with it because she'd turn her back on it, and then it would get close, and all of a sudden she'd whip around and stomp her front paws, and the wolverine would dart back out again, and spent 45 minutes from different directions trying to get in, rolling around in the snow that was down there. And so I guess not strictly a bear sighting, but the wolverine just really was
cool.
icing on the cake.
What a neat experience. Thank you for sharing that. And Tim, does any one of the 600 bears that you've encountered stand out? Can you still see its face and put yourself right back there?
I think I've had a lot of interesting situations, but I think I didn't work in Glacier Park unless asked to come in and help work in the park. And so I dealt mostly with bears outside of Glacier Park on private land. And the one that sticks in my mind, I'm going to comment on it because it was kind of a really unique situation. We had a young radial-collared male grizzly bear that was in Whitefish. And it ended up over near the Whitefish Lake Lodge and then ended up near Lacey Lane and was bedded down in a bunch of brush in the middle of the day. And I went in to free range dart it, so I had to get about 20 feet away from it, darted it, and it jumped up and it ran away towards the lake. And I had Derek and Heather were contracting with me, and we had a couple of bear dogs with us just so we could make sure we could direct it if we needed to. Anyway, the drug started to take effect, and this bear dropped right next to a chain link fence. And on the other side of the chain link fence was a pit bull. And this pit bull was barking at this bear through the chain link fence. Well, the bear went down. I had the city police was there. I was there. And this pit bull came under the chain link fence and latched onto the front foot of this grizzly bear, as does it was under the effects of the drug. So I had a pit bull on this front paw of this grizzly bear. It wasn't letting go. I was thumping the dog on the nose to try to let go of the bear's paw. And pretty soon, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a construction worker shows up. And he goes, "What do you want me to do? Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, if I can get this dog to let go of this bear's paw, can you lift it and put it back over the fence?" And sure enough, I thumped the dog's nose really hard. The construction worker grabbed the dog by the scruff of the neck and the tail, lifted it over the fence, dropped it on the other side, put his foot on the bottom of the fence so the dog couldn't come back over. Meanwhile, the chief of police was standing over there. Use your bear spray. And I'm like, not going to spray the bear or the dog, and get us covered with bear spray. We don't need to do that. And so Derek and I, it was about a 200-pound young male, we picked it up, drug it over, and Heather had gone and got my pickup truck. We threw it in the back of my pickup truck, drove over to Whitefish Lake Lodge, where we had a culvert trap parked, and worked the bear up there in the parking lot, did all the body measurements, all that kind of stuff, and put it back into the culvert trap. But that's one thing that I remembered is, in town, darting a bear, free range, dog grabbed its front paw, and city police there, and, the whole kit and caboodle. And so it's a different experience than working in Glacier Park, because I dealt mostly with bears in situations like that. But that's one that sticks out in my mind just because it was so unusual.
Yeah, for sure. It's so great to hear. Sarah and I are very blessed to have the both of you in the studio, Tim and Rachel Manley. You listener out there, check out their bios and their history and some of the work they've done. And we're just so thankful to have had you as guests. And
sure.
We'd love for you to check out our Instagram page at Hiking Fools MT to see some great photos from our recent adventures, and tune in next time. Check out more episodes online, and remember to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go.